Hello and welcome back to the third of our Blue Talks today. And we're now going to go straight into some of the real solutions that are starting to emerge. In that previous discussion, we were talking a little bit about some of the tools that are going to be needed for the decarbonisation of the industry. And it's great to actually have today a company that's actually been pushing that with electrification, Corvus, and it's over the years has become just about the largest company selling solutions into the shipping industry. And some of you may be aware that they made an announcement yesterday with a new product, which actually enables the industry in this discussion that we're talking about some of these solutions about scaling up and getting some of the larger vessels to decarbonise effectively. But to talk more about Corvus's strategy and the use of electric storage in the shipping industry, it gives me great pleasure to invite Harold Hausel to come up onto the stage and give his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to have a stage, and we will give you just a short company presentation. Do we have maybe this one? All right. Very short about Corvus. We are 10 years old this year, and we have now moved the headquarters to Norway. Actually, maybe not Norway, but Bergen. We are 170 employees, and we are privately owned by Equinor, Norsk Hydro, and BW, and a group of Canadian owners. We have very high focus on R&D, and we will show you later on what we have on the R&D stand. We have a lot of install base, and we are very proud to be a battery manufacturer with a maritime DNA. We do not understand much inside the cells in the sales department, but we understand how we can use the battery for the ship operation. We have roughly 200 projects and a lot of install base and about 2 million operating hours. But what really helped us in developing the company is to be on board a lot of first-off projects. The mothership of all ferries is the Ampere, and now she has been sailing for 3.5 years, around 7 times around the equator, only on pure energy from waterfall into our battery and constantly working. And we have done a lot of other firsts. We have the first tugboat, zero-emission tugboat, coming into operation now this spring. And we have the first shuttle tanker on DP3. We have a first of fishing, DP3 offshore vessel, and a lot of different type. But what is driving the energy storage is a set of issues. And one is the technical issue. So the development needs to carry on. And you will see later on in the presentation, before we used to have one size fits all, and that ain't working anymore. But the cell chemistry is developing, and we do not have our own cells, so we can package any cell that comes on the market from anywhere in the world, and that is happening quite a lot. And a lot of this first-off project has helped us in developing the product. And we are part of a lot of clusters. We have the Maritime Cleantech, the Battery Forum, Green Coastal Shipping, Blue in Seattle, Washington State. We have a lot of clusters where we work and we share and we open and we develop projects together. And of course, the operational part is important. We are there to make the operation more safe than before. There is a lot of flexibility with the battery, how it can work together with engines and others. And we are into the digitalization and how you can take the data of the battery and then predict how it's working towards the design life. There is, of course, on the cost, you will see that, of course, the fuel saving and from fuel saving, there is a lot of cost saving. And the return of investment is important. And then you have the regulatory bodies. As you can see, there is a lot of IMO have come with theirs, and there is a lot of both global and local regulatory bodies. and that is also pushing towards cleaner shipping. And of course, the social. I have kids in school age, and they take school off to go to the town and go with a banner and say, no, we need to change. And this young Swedish girl, she has set off an extremely momentum, and we are very pleased, because then we get focus on the climate from the next generation, and they are the one we are going to hand over the world to. So decarbonization is super critical. So we have done a lot of vessels. I said we have about 210 projects at the moment. The majority is ferries and offshore vessels, but more and more vessels are coming along. Last couple of months, we have got the first container vessel. We are getting the first car carrier. We have chemical tanker. There is coming a huge variation of different ship type. And with all of them, we have seen there is a huge amount of savings. We are not talking about polishing the hull and giving a 2% reduction in fuel. We are talking about huge potential in maintenance, in fuel consumption itself, and by reducing fuel, you get the CO2 and NOx reduction automatically. And what you see here is some of the huge benefits that we have calculated, and it's the reason why many of this ship type has changed to energy storage. But as you saw on our reference list, the majority of the vessels that is using the energy storage is the car and passenger ferries, followed by the offshore supply. But you also see cruise is coming, and that is really important. So to broaden up this and to make more ship type using energy storage, you need to have a different type of battery. So there is no one type fits all. So we have now made a whole family of products. Last year, or last NorShipping, we had one product. Now we have 6. So if you see on the left here, that's a product that we haven't launched yet, but it is coming within this year. It is a very high C-rate battery for for drilling and heave compensation of cranes and drilling equipment. Then we have two battery types for fast craft, where the focus is on low weight. We have one with high C-rate and one with low C-rate. And then we have the Orca Energy that we have 140 vessels within in backlog and in operation. And then we have a subsea battery. With Oceaneering, we have a battery where we put it in a garage with we put it on the seabed, only with a communication to a buoy, and from shore we can operate the ROV for maintenance and inspection for 2-3 weeks. Then the vessel come and take the garage up on the deck, charge it for a couple of hours, and put it back into 2-3 weeks without any vessel there. So you can imagine the saving. And then the final one is that we now at the NorShipping is launching our super energy battery called the Blue Whale. As you have, if you have been to our stand, we have a hall called C, and C for Corvus. It's easy to remember. There we have a blue whale, but you will soon see it's not blue, it's white. But that battery is super designed for cruise, RoPax, and ro-ro vessels. So I will focus now the rest of the presentation on this new battery type called the Blue Whale. So what is really important with that? What will it save? It has a lower C-rate. We are talking about 0.5 C and down. That means, for people who don't know C-rate, that is more than 2 hours charge or discharge. If you have more than that, then this battery is suited for any application. But the benefit with a low C-rate is that you can arrange the vessel differently. Because if you put, I will show you on this slide, is that the footprint compared to our Orca energy, is reduced to half. That means that you can get a double amount of energy into the same space as the Orca energy, or you can have a smaller battery room and get more into it. But that is the reason why we managed to get the footprint and the volume down to half, is because the new system works in a different way. On the Orca energy, you can see there to the right, there is a lot of corridors for installation and maintenance that takes a lot of space. So on the blue whale, you can see there is next to no distance between the battery packs. And that means because of the low C rate and the low heat rejection from the battery, we can put them, install them in a separate way. And what we have done, because there is issues that you need to be able to look at the battery, and that is the pack controllers and the BMS and everything. And that BMS is put in a cabinet to the right of this left figure. And that means that we will be able to get access to all the things that you need to get access to without having a maintenance aisle. And this we have done together with some ship owners and integrators. They have helped us in packaging this together so that we can have this volume and footprint reduction. And we also have a huge weight reduction. For big vessel, many people think weight is not critical, but for sure it's critical. So how the battery will look like is you can see here there on the right, that is a module. And these modules will be stacked in a roughly 2 meter high module stack. And as you can see, we have already put lifting lugs for forklift so that we can take and move this, deliver it complete like this from our factory. And we can lift this into the vessel if you have the space. And we can transport it and we can install it very quickly. And then the commissioning is more or less done at the same time. There is no cablings to be done. There is nothing to be done because that's in our scope of supply. So it's very, very easy. So now we'd like to show you a small video of one of the solutions that the blue whale can give you. And we are in the whole C at the Norwegian Pavilion. So we really like to invite you afterwards to come and see the blue whale, the white blue whale for yourself. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Halvard. Could I ask our panelists to come onto the stage, please? Now, our panelists that we have here actually represent sort of the technology developments that we've got here. And Geir Björkeli represents Corvus. He's the CEO. And then we have Christian Servik from Varda. So obviously, I'm going to be talking to him about the integration that we see there. And from NorShipping as well, we have Jan Erik Razanen to talk a little bit about sort of the design capabilities that we see here. And Geir, when we were looking at that video of the cruise ship coming into the fjords and switching over to its battery, and then going up into the fjord and then coming back again, leaving the other cruise ship behind, having its fun all alone up there, nice clean air and everything. When you're looking at designing that kind of solution for a cruise ship of that size, and I saw it was like a 24 megawatt hour battery solution that is going to be put into a vessel of that size. What do you see, or what do you have to think about when you actually sort of sell that idea to a large cruise ship operator now? Because they're going to say it's going to be heavy, it's going to be costly.
Now, of course, we have to tailor-made a battery for that use, that they could have enough power to sail in and out of the fjords. And of course, as Halvard highlighted from the presentation, of course, for a cruise operator, that volume and the space is extremely important, because otherwise they will use that for commercial areas, for cabins and restaurants. So for us to have a compact design, but also a battery that is big enough that they can meet this future requirement for zero emission in port, zero emission in the fjords, that we have something that enable them to continue operating in these protected areas.
Do you see this being more as a new build solution, or do you see this being potentially even in a retrofit? Given what's going to happen with the regulations in the fjords very soon, do you see this being part of a retrofit solution?
Both. We see now that we have leads on both retrofit and new build. Of course, there's no doubt that it's very difficult to fit these big batteries into existing boats. Then the owner has to do kind of big rebuilding. But I think for the cruise industry, it's so important to take this environmental stuff seriously. So that we see that they are willing to also do retrofit.
And from Vard's perspective, Christian, when you look at new technology like this coming into the industry, and you look at how you're going to apply it, it's not a simple case of let's just putting a battery in a car. It's a completely different game. How do you, and then Corvus come up with a completely new solution and say, yeah, you thought you had the battery, now you've got the battery. What processes do you have to go through when you look at evolving the integration?
Yeah, it's in Varda we have been looking at many different projects in terms of different applications, such as large or the exploration cruise vessels. We are going to deliver batteries for that, and of course, with these new batteries that was presented here, is post a change in that, because you are dependent on having a significant battery pack in there. The integration would be more or less the same. I think this is just about that you need high energy capacity on those things, and of course 20 megawatt hours. That's probably just a start. But with the Orca batteries, no, the Blue Whale batteries, it's of course it will be a step change in terms of the getting high energy in there. But integration-wise, of course, it's for the ship itself. It's you have to plan well how you do all the facilities around cooling of the room, the batteries, all the different electrical integration that you need to do, and as well you have to take into account that batteries will sooner or later need to come out. Because they don't last the ship time of so you need to plan it well. But I think there is a potential both for retrofits and for new builds, of course.
And actually, it was notable when you say about batteries coming out. I went on board the new Hurtigruten vessel recently, and I saw the battery room there, and it was barely half filled with batteries. And they said, well, this just gives us the capacity. I mean, what made them think about sort of like going down that sort of hybrid route and then thinking, well, actually, let's make a battery storage room where we can even add more. But you're going around this, you're kind of solving it in a different way, because you're saying you're not going to need all that room, because we're going to go and make the batteries.
I think they're going to need a room, but just they can have even more capacity fit into that room, so they can be running longer on zero emission modes. But I think they did know an installation just for peak shaving and to optimize how they run the ships currently, with the potential to install and to upgrade more for zero emission operations later on.
And when it comes to the operational perspective, this is perhaps where I can bring in ForShip here in terms of the operational parameters of vessels that are going to use these kind of solutions. How do you see the sort of operational profile of vessels when they use batteries or hybrid solutions?
Generally speaking, a cruise ship, if you take, I would say almost all cruise ships spend 50% of their time in port, 50% of the time between ports. And I would say port stay is one of the crucial things for Blue Whale, where you have large capacity battery, but slowly discharge, so it would fit quite well into that perspective. Then again, if you take peak load shaving, I would say typically on a cruise ship you could expect 2.5% fuel savings only from peak load shaving. So there is a huge benefit also for the big cruise ships on that element. Then we have the spinning reserve, which say on workboats, OSVs, PSVs, spinning reserve has been turned out to be a really good solution to save fuel. And I would say also
just to clarify what you mean by speed reserve there.
Spinning reserve means that you actually run on optimum number of engines and without really having excess engines online just because of safety reasons. And the same goes for the cruise ships, that in some operational areas, like we saw the fjords, they say that we have a fjord where you are allowed to run with combustion engines. You typically run with more than what you need just to be sure, for safety reasons. And then again, these batteries would be there, sitting there, and give the benefit to the owner without actually being in use. And that would be also, depending on the operational area, but quite significant saving from emission perspective.
What about the training perspective when it comes to operating these kind of dual hybrid solution here? When you're looking at the companies, the shipping companies, cruise or offshore vessels that are using this, are they taking a new look at the crewing arrangements? And what can you say about how you help them with some sort of awareness of electrification of the shipping industry?
We have some basic training, but we have to admit also that we should be further developing this kind of training course, because I think it's very important that the crew learn to trust this, because very often they can start an extra engine anyway, and then you get the saving disappears. So for us, it's important to continue to contribute to the crew so they understand how this is working and how to operate it to get these savings. Because if you then, as a spinning reserve, and the chief engineer or the captain, they don't trust it and let that engine run anyway, then of course you don't get these savings as you should. So the training is important.
Do you also find that when you're talking to the crews, are they keen to sort of see the new technologies that are coming out?
Yeah.
I mean, I know in Norway you've got the electric vessels now, and you've got a lot of novel types of vessels, but in some of the other countries that are now beginning to take an interest in these dual solutions, are the people there sort of like keen and eager to sort of see these solutions? Are they?
Yeah, we see that they're very eager, and always even selling battery to a chief engineer who's wondering, okay, he loves his engine, but what they don't like, that is all this low load operation that is really killing the engine, and they have to do a lot of maintenance. So they really also this guy, they really like this, so they can optimize the operation of the engine and reduce the wear and tear and the maintenance.
Yeah. And when you're building, because I talked to you a minute ago about the sort of the retrofitting new bit and how you design the solutions in, but how has a company, a shipbuilder like Varda, had to evolve its? I know it's got Varda Electro now, But how is shipbuilding having to evolve with these new kind of solutions that are emerging?
Well, it's a long story, of course, but there is several spin-off company from the shipbuilding, which is the Vard's core business, of course, and so we have kind of evolved over many years, and of course into building the significant, or how to say, the ships as we have today. If it's exploration cruise or if it's a fishing vessel today, it's really high spec, high tech vessels. So the crew on board, they are very well they already operate kind of sophisticated vessels, and we have to, of course, to follow that development, and there is always a push for utilizing new technology. And that's Varda Electro has been following that process, of course, and now have kind of engineering competence within all the different segments within the electrical integration of such systems. So that's been a natural development for us throughout the years now. And today we are building a full-scale Polo Code 2 icebreaker with batteries now. We're going to be cruising to the North Pole, so it's we don't know what's next, so but probably some really high-tech stuff coming out. So.
Do you see the solutions that are emerging eventually? Because the previous conversation, the previous talk we had was looking at decarbonisation, and here you're talking about a sort of hybrid step in some ways, because a lot of these solutions that you're still, like with the cruise ships, you still got the diesel engine, you still got the CO2 emissions, but you're certainly making significant steps. I'll agree with that. But where do you think you can go towards decarbonisation of larger tonnage using energy storage like this?
What we see, of course, is that even on diesel, but also say for the gas engines, very often you see a battery will help to optimize that engine how it's run. But also you see for the other power generation solution like this fuel cells, you also need them in combination with the battery. So battery will also not only for zero for fuel electric will be a vital part also on the other alternative and say lower carbon fuels.
Yeah. And are the cells that you're using today, I think is it LG?
Yes. On Orca Energy,
yeah.
we're currently using LG.
Okay. So I was going to say, with the new ones, are you still using the same supply?
No, we have different. We could, but we also there can have different suppliers. It's not finally decided. We have 5-6 different makers there, so can do the cells.
And how are you seeing those companies? Because in some ways you're reliant on their own research and development,
yes,
in terms of improving the power density and the capacity of those cells. How do you see their evolution?
No, we see they like LG and I was yesterday up in northern part of Sweden with Northvolt. You see there's a lot of development going on there also for battery cell development. Of course, driven by the electrification of the automotive, but you see from mining, you see on rail, you see on all other sectors. So we tapping into this kind of technology that are there in big scale and modernize this and design the modules to meet the marine environment and rules. But we, as Halvard said, we can pack any kind of cell, any make. There's nothing related to that. So we don't carry that kind of already.
Is the fact that this has become such industry broad, and not just in the maritime industry, but so many other industries as well, but is that helping drive down the cell price, which is one of the indicative factors for you to be able to actually then be able to develop this kind of solution into the shipping industry?
Definitely, of course. When you see the, for example, LG Cam's development plans, how they ramping up and building new factories, of course, the unit cost come down.
And because you alluded to, the batteries don't last the lifetime of the vessels. So when you're building your batteries and you're selling this concept into to the ship operators, what do you say to them about the life cycle of the batteries?
What we say to them, of course, we normally size this on 10 years. We have some maybe 12 years. So we say that we are sizing it for that lifetime. But also very important to say that we have as a design philosophy that we don't have to retrofit the whole boat after year done, so that the interface, the cabling, the interface up to the integrator remain the same. But we also say that we can take the battery back. we can recycle up to 99.5% of the battery. So that has a value, and also important for the environment that also you can do the proper recycling. But that is developed now.
That recycling of the battery cell itself, of the battery, is going to be quite important, I imagine, in the future as the whole life cycle discussion.
It is very important. But I mean, I think this is a positive problem because the value of all the metals in that make that this is a business in itself. You see now, and also you're talking about the second life. Some of these batteries can be used in other applications when they go off the boat. So I think that that is very important for the green profile of it. But I think it's not. That's not the cost. This is an opportunity for all of us.
Can I just ask also about the operational profile again here, because Jan Erik, when you look at different types on the cruise ships, and we see the projections for how cruise shipping is actually going to increase, and ocean tourism is seen as one of the growth factors according to the OECD. Where do you see the kind of propulsion mix in the cruise industry, and where do you see this kind of solution fitting in? Are they going? Do you see the cruise industry decarbonising?
Yes, cruise industry is decarbonizing, and we say technologies like batteries are helping that part. But then it's also when you have a big cruise ship, the power plant could be between today between 50 and 75 megawatt. So it's a huge power plant, and just to cope with the propulsion, high-speed legs, but also, of course, the hotel load. And I would say that in addition to the batteries, it's extremely important to look on the energy efficiency of the ship itself. So to plan to build your ship to be the most energy efficient so that your batteries also will last longer when you are actually using them. So really look at the big picture, complete picture, not only on adding batteries from conversion perspective, retrofit perspective. Yes, that's what you typically do, look only on the battery size. But then again, in a new building, you have so much freedom on looking on the complete picture. So I think that's, in addition to the batteries, extremely important to look on the whole efficiency of your ship.
And where do you see other solutions growing in this industry that will sort of complement the use of battery? Geir mentioned fuel cells, for example. Yes. Do you see that being as a significant player alongside batteries in the evolution of a decarbonised cruise sector?
Generally speaking, design for flexibility is the key.
Okay.
So in the sense, yes, combustion engines will be here, and they will be here for quite a long time. Batteries are one thing. Fuel cells, the scalability of the fuel cells is today one of the restrictions that you don't find really megawatt scale of fuel cells, or at least not fuel cell installations yet. And what kind of fuel do fuel cells use? Hydrogen. And if you want to, bunker completely hydrogen, the infrastructure is not there. You don't have the tank capacity, because we already know that tank demand from MGO to LNG is double, and then if you go from LNG to hydrogen, it's again double. So you need a lot of space. So yes, fuel cells will be there, but how big they will be, I don't know.
But this electrification of the industry gives that flexibility, because you can tap anything at the end of the cable, so that it provides power, provides electricity, provides propulsion. That must make it easy for you. Well, not easy, but easier for you, because you've got, when you come to the the cabling and putting everything together, not so much the cabling, but if you've got that sort of thought, you've got the flexibility. So ship operators, ship owners can come and actually have and build in. You can help them build in that flexibility, I guess.
Yeah, that's correct. And yeah, if you're going to go for fuel cell, you still need to have batteries. You can't have fuel cells without batteries. So in one way or another, you're going via the batteries, and there need to be a step change. If you're talking about the new requirements coming and so on, there needs to be a dramatic step change in this respect. What we are doing on converting and integrating for the OSV fleet, that's due to excess use of engines and fuel. But in this, with the new rules and new requirements coming, it has to be a step change. And then these kind of batteries are, of course, one of the options that might solve this solution. And this will push the industry to kind of move in that direction. And yeah, of course, for integration, it will be somewhat similar, but it's with the electrical propulsion and these kind of things, which is on board all modern ships today. Of course, you will be able to kind of fit both fuel cells, batteries, and so on. So you kind of plan for that, but there need to be a step change.
Yeah. Do you think the battery market? I mean, I know there's a couple of your competitors here in these halls. Do you think it's going to grow more competitive or less competitive? You acquired one of your competitors recently.
No, I think it will be more competitive. I think that's also healthy for the industry. I think we will see the marine market growing, and I see there will become new players in. And I think that's for us also to be up 1 hour earlier than the rest every day to be the best one also in the future. So, but I think that you need more players in order to let this industry move faster ahead.
And do you find yourself thinking about this integration with different solutions and getting that flexibility to be future-proof? Do you see yourself having more and more collaborations with fuel cell providers and signing, sort of like having a preferred fuel cell provider, for example?
Yeah, it's not for us as a battery. We don't have as a strategy to be too close to them. I think there will always be an integrator or a ship designer in between us, as we are not too close with the engine selection either. But of course, we like to work in collaboration with this when it comes to develop the vessel concepts.
I'm going to open up for a few questions. I don't know if anybody else has got the questions. I just go on asking questions all the time. It's kind of my job. Has anybody else got any questions they want to ask about electrification? Otherwise, I'll just carry on. You're like me doing the job. This is good. Great. So do you find, gentlemen, when you're looking at the cruise industry, that there is growing awareness from the cruise industry's passengers? I mean, I'm guessing you talk to the operators a bit, but the people that go onto the cruise ships, are they aware of what's happening in the technology under the water?
Generally speaking, I would say no. A typical customer client in the cruise industry is not aware of what is happening below waterline. But if you have solar panels on the roof, if you have windmills on the side of the ship, or if you have sails, then they are very aware of that this ship is environmentally friendly.
I raised that because Stena has got one of your batteries on the vessel that goes from Gothenburg over to Denmark. And it's made a big thing about this because it's put a big picture of a battery on the back end of the ship. And it's got plans to grow them bigger and bigger and bigger. And that, for me, is a big way of sort of getting the public a little bit more aware about what's going on within this industry. Because you've actually got one of the hidden solutions a little bit there, because you don't, you haven't got the visibility that you have. So how do you think you're going to go around raising the visibility within the industry?
No, but I think the cruise operator that take this investment, of course, will utilize this in their marketing. You see, some people, they're calling the vessel hybrid and they paint them almost green. So I think the ones that are the front runner, they will of course use this as a differentiator, and they will put the awareness also on the passenger.
And do you think, from Vard's perspective, that you're going to see more and more companies of different types of ship owners and ship operators? Because the graph that you put up showed that huge spike for RoPax and the small ferries, but a sort of small dots and dots around some of the other ones. And with your new product, do you see then that there's going to be more and more interest and that there's going to be more different vessel types that are going to start using hybrid or battery solutions?
Yeah, I think we already see that. More or less all projects which is discussed or on the drawing board today goes via the discussion about, can we fit batteries to this? Will it be any benefits adding batteries into the projects and so on. And that's more or less 100% on all projects being discussed. So definitely yes. With the technology coming, like the Blue Whale product, of course, that will be something that is kind of making it easier to kind of fit of this type of vessel that Halvard presented, which we're going to operate over a period of time. We have previously we talked about peak shaving and kind of shorter load transients that we are handling. But with the larger energy batteries, of course, it will be open up a different segment to the different ship types. And we have mentioned cruise, but yeah, of course, with all the ships that operate along the coastlines in various places around the world will be opening up. But of course, it will also be pushed by government rules and so on that will push this. It's not so that if there's not any set of rules where they're operating, it's not necessarily that it will happen. So it goes like hand in hand if it's going to be a push based on which regions you're operating.
And Geir, as a sort of, just as we come to a close of this session, when we talk about decarbonisation of the whole industry, we have to look deep sea as well, at the container shipping, at the dry bulk sector and tankers, etc. Where do you see energy storage fitting into that sector? Because we're talking largely about cruise, we're talking about road packs, we're talking about small ferries, shuttle running, short sea shipping. But deep sea, where do you and if so, where can energy storage play a role in deep sea?
As Halvard just mentioned, we have the first contract for a big container ship. That will be, of course, in peak shaving and optimizing how you run the generators, especially on container ships, that you need to have rather big surplus available because all this reefer container coming on and off. Of course, there the battery can take a part of it. I see you will see some more innovative solution also where you combine the main engine and auxiliary engines and maybe a battery. We see a solution also for bulk carrier. Instead of having 3 generators, maybe you have 2 generators and a battery. You will see more of this as also for a spinning reserve. These guys have to, in the port operation, they have to, for safety, also have all the engines running in case they're going to use the bow thruster and maneuvering. There you take a lot of this low load engine operations away with the battery. We will not see that you can go completely on batteries over the Pacific, because then I think the battery is a quite expensive energy containment system versus a fuel tank.
Yes.
But you will take the battery, will take a big part of reducing the energy spent.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Unless anybody else has got any questions or thoughts, I'll say thank you.
Thank you.